Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. It really helps me a lot. And don't forget to check out my website, paradxastrology.com. I am a professional astrologer. I can help you with anything. If you like occult videos and would like more, I do exclusive videos on Patreon, and it also supports this channel. And thank you for all the members of my Patreon. Okay, let's get into this video. So I just want to talk about how Jupiter is combust from now that I'm shooting this video, and it will be until May 3rd. And I'm going to talk about what that means. Now, if you feel a little bit different, this may be the reason why. And this will affect mostly people with ascendant or a lot of placements in either Pisces or Sagittarius, but this will affect everybody in a certain way, but mostly them, or if you have a lot of nakshatras, which are Jupiterian ruling nakshatras. Now, when Jupiter goes combust, it means that it's within 11 degrees of the sun. And when it's within that 11 degrees, that means that it's not visible in the sky anymore. And it also means that we lose the full effects of Jupiter. And Jupiter is what gives us our optimism. It's what gives us our wisdom, and it gives us our spirituality as well, and many other things which I'm going to mention and what that means for the world. Now, on April 11th, it will exactly conjunct the sun, which will burn up all of its effects. So it's slowly kind of getting a little bit worse. And it's in between Saturn and Rahu. And when it's in between Saturn and Rahu, this is actually called paradxastrology yoga. And that means that it is a cutting off of the planets which are between these two aspects. So any planets that are in Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries are going to feel a cutting off of the effects of these planets. So this is putting Jupiter in a really bad position, and this is actually very karmic as well. It can prevent happiness, and it can prevent happiness because of past sins. So it can get a cutting off because of karma, of past lives. So if you're born with this in your chart, that's what this means. People who are born at this time, that's what that will mean as well. During this time, a lot of people are going to feel effects of things that they have done in past lives and will have to dissolve that karma. But also your good karmas can be reflected in this as well. So if you have good placements or your level of consciousness is very high, it can elevate you as well. So it all just depends on the individual. But for the world, I could see that this occurring could be a problem. When Jupiter enters Aries on April 22nd, and even before that, on the 20th, when we have the eclipse, this is going to activate the Jupiter in this detrimental type placement. Also on April 5th, Jupiter and Rahu will be within 15 degrees of each other. And that is going to cause the Guru Chandal Yoga, which is when Jupiter and Rahu are that close together. And that's when Rahu starts to take over Jupiter. Now, Jupiter wasn't in a good position to begin with. So now we're going to have the effects of Rahu. Now, Rahu is very obsessive. Rahu wants everything done right away. Rahu is very expansive and spontaneous as well. But Rahu is actually being aspected by Saturn. And so now we have Saturn, Jupiter, Rahu, and then because we have the other side, which is the complete opposite, which is Ketu. Now, this is going to bring a lot of karmic events that will occur, and we don't have the access to the knowledge and the wisdom that we usually do. This has to do with a lot of finance as well. There could be a huge crash in finance. This could have to do with gold. There could be highs and lows. There could be major highs, major lows. That's the thing with Rahu and Jupiter. Depends how well placed your Jupiter is. But it will be a roller coaster because Jupiter is expansive. Rahu being aspected by Saturn, that Saturn aspect, that's contracting, that's limiting. So it's a roller coaster between exaggeration and limitation. This will be ups and downs for advertising agencies, for spiritual leaders, religious leaders, churches, temples, higher education, universities, teachers, legislation, courts. Court systems will be overused. publications, rental properties, scientific institutions. There could be social gatherings, stocks, sugar, wholesale trade, traveling. There could be some traveling. All of this will occur some problems, some roller coasters now, especially because it's in Ashwini. It's going to be entering in Ashwini on April 22nd while it's not in the best condition. Now, Ashwini has to do with transportation. It has to do with healing and rejuvenation, and it has to do with new beginnings, and it's very spontaneous as well. And having Rahu there, Rahu is also technology. And we could have problems with technology, especially around that time. We have Mercury going in retrograde, problems with technology and not having the answers to solve this. People will feel not as optimistic as they usually do. It will be a downtime. Mistakes will be made. Things will have to be redone and redo. And people will, instead of going for their higher self, will be gravitating more towards the ego. Spiritual practices are not done during this time when Jupiter is combust, because we don't have the full effect of Jupiter, and Jupiter is required for spiritual practices, especially having Rahu in a Ketu nakshatra and Ketu in Rahu nakshatra. Things are feeling a little bit backwards when it comes to spirituality as well, or maybe religion. So that's why in the Hindu tradition, they don't do any occult practices during this time. They don't do any pujas because of this energy. So if your spiritual or your religious practices aren't working like they usually do, just keep going and just understand it's just more of a downtime. And that's totally fine, because that's how things work. They go up and down. So there are a lot of things that are restricting Jupiter at this time. So if you do have certain placements with Jupiter, like I said, and you may feel that there is no purpose in a way at times, and that's okay. That's totally normal. And after May, you'll feel a lot better. So just to warn you about that. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.